And we are still going with our discussions here, our conversations, and I believe if you're a business person, anywhere you are, and you're a bit stressed about life, depressed, mindset change can be a topic that you would love to engage in. And my guest in here is someone who has spoken about it, written about it, and is continuing to discuss it around every person who he connects with. So when you look at that, our topic is about mindset change generally. I'm still with Mr. Emmanuel Chirunda. So I would want to know, first of all, how does mindset change? Is this a pillar in the development of business? And how is it a pillar?
Yeah, this is something actually I wrote about in my first book.
Okay.
And the way I approached it was from the point of view of understanding which groups of people are developed already. And it's a fact that the people leading the world, or the developed peoples, are largely two types of people. The European, and wherever the Europeans went, whether New Zealand, America, whatever, and then the Far East Asians. You're talking about Japan, Taiwan, China. The rest of us, we are catching up, or we are trying to develop. And the way I analyze this is the mindset of the Europeans, and wherever they went, is that, I took an example in this book, for example, the Americans. And I created a concept, a framework, which I called the Harry. And I said that I wrote this when I was living in America, because I was there for over 13 years. What led the Americans to develop, in my view, vis-a-vis in relation to their mindset, is their urge and their social value that every person is an autonomous person. The Americans, their belief, their creed is that every person has a personal space, that personal freedom. And that's how they just conquered the whole continent from coast to coast, and they're now leading the world. But the Germans, for example, they developed, and they are developed peoples, not because of the American value of personal freedom, but rather their work ethic. Up to now, the Germans, what has led their growth is that their mindset is based on work ethic, what they call the Protestant work ethic. And you know what the Germans, they're #1 in Europe, even every world war they bounce back because of their work ethic. And when you look at the Japanese or the Taiwanese, I analyze them here that what has led to their development is work perfection. Not work ethic, but work perfection. And I've interacted with Japanese people, I've read about Japan. They don't create many things, but whenever anything is created in Europe or America, the Japanese perfect it. So for example, Toyota did not create the cars, but they got the system from Americans, and then they created the Toyota production system. And right now,
they have a brand.
They are #1 in the world in terms of efficiency, productivity.
And the market, they really have market.
And Japan is just as big as Uganda. It's a tiny country without resources. So after those 3 examples, I said, we Africans, we Ugandans, we are not developed because we don't have that thing akin to work perfection, work ethic, which I call the Harry. We do not have it. So we don't have a mindset to develop. So we need to create in our education and socializing a mindset that approximates one of these things that has led these developed peoples to develop. And that is the topic I explore in my 3rd book. How can we inculcate from childhood, from our culture, religious, social leaders, how can they realize we need to have something like the Japanese work perfection, like the German work ethic, like the American personal freedom? What is it? And I give my proposal, but your answer is, my answer to your question is, we are not developed because we don't have that impetus, that thing that defines how we can work in order to develop. So we are just not helpless, but we're just wallowing.
Going with the flow.
Yes. We are not moving. We are not moving forward.
Okay. And I want to understand, is the challenge now with because someone may think it's maybe our economy that only supports you if you have your mind ready for something, you go in, whether you have the experience or whether you have the passion for it, as long as it's bringing you money, let me go in for it. Is it the reason as to why we are in this kind of situation?
Yeah, because people are in that situation because they don't have an overarching kind of collective defined culture norm. Like when I tell you, when you're in America, the idea of personal freedom, whether you're educated or not, whether you know this is who we are. And that's why even in America, people and even the government says the government is not going to be in people's business, in business space. Why? Because their value is that every individual is autonomous. It's in the Constitution, it's in the culture, it's everywhere. And so for us, we don't have that. So you end up, even if you have a good idea, even if you are doing the right thing, once you grow from 1 million to 5 million and you want to do something big, what is the mindset behind you that is going to make you get on that big stage? Okay. If you say you're working hard, you work hard, but then you get other people who don't understand that working hard is the thing that we should have. So they end up stealing your money, your capital. Yeah? So the frustration is people trying to do the right thing, but our society, everyone is in their own way. They are not, they don't have a strong structuring mindset-wise. So you end up being frustrated. That's why every rich person, maybe even before even they die, people still, they are stealing in their business, but definitely when they die, their businesses never pass on to their children in the way that their children will propagate the business, because the children don't, there is nothing, there is no structuring within societies, families to say, this is how we do it. And I'm saying this because when you look at the Chinese or the Germans, when someone dies as a billionaire, the children, the people around know how they work, and so they propagate the business. Okay. BMW is a family business. It has been around more than 100 years, but it keeps going.
I've got to realize this with also Indian families, because Indian families also do the same thing. Yeah. When you look at the Indian family setting, you realize businesses are moving in with, you will see that
over generations.
Top CEO is either the father or the founder. Now the manager or the ED will be the son. Yeah. Now that means the grandchildren are going to follow with the same footsteps. Yeah. But why is it very difficult with the African setting? Because I don't want to even bring it only in Uganda, but I believe this has become a general problem in Africa, where if at all a rich billionaire in Africa dies, you will no longer hear about their businesses in the next 10 years, because now he has died with his business completely. The children are doing something different from what the father was doing. Good. So how can parents now shape their children ready for the business world?
No, that's a very, very interesting question, and it's very pertinent in that we haven't been able to answer that question. Okay. That fact, I know it, you know it. All over Africa, it is there. The way I understand it, or the way I approach this problem, which everyone knows, is that I was able to distill the fact that our mindsets are very much self-defeating. Like the way we are cultured, it's like we cut off our feet and then somehow we expect we will walk. So we have self-defeating structuring, self-defeating culture propagation. So for example, whether you're in a home, rich or poor, or whether you're educated or not, we take it for granted that we feel and believe that we are inferior. Okay. So the inferiority complex is a self-defeating mindset that no one has tried, or at least in my view, no one has tried to analyze and propose a way for us to go beyond this inferiority complex that we feel. There are other self-defeating mindsets which I've been able to put together. They are altogether about 6. Inferiority complex, feeling like a victim, eternal victim. We all, in our homes and schools and whatever, we just want to complain about colonialism and other people. We never have that mindset that we just need to take responsibility. History maybe served us the wrong way, but we have to take responsibility. What can I do right now even if my ancestors were colonized. Because you and me, we are not colonized. You know, we can decide to, even when you go to England, people don't look at you that we colonized you. Like, things have moved on, but our mindsets are self-defeating, and we don't have an education system and a culture propagation system that lets people go beyond those self-defeating. So your answer is, whether we are rich, whether we have power, whether we're educated or not, still everyone from presidents, ministers, rich, poor people, we have these self-defeating ways we look at our lives. And there's no solution to that other than we need to accept that that's the problem, and maybe when we start talking about it, a solution will come in the future, and that's what I'm trying to propose. Yeah.
Okay. And now lastly, as we are summing up with our discussion, I would want to give you 2 minutes for you to sum this up in what are you doing to ensure that at least there is some change in society here, and then also what is the next generation going to do? What can we do for the next generation to nurture them into a world free of ideas, and a world whereby someone can easily be fit to come up with something and society accepts it?
Thank you, John. What I can tell viewers is that all these problems of our mindsets being self-defeating, or the Europeans, whatever, they will come here and they call us backward. It is real. We feel inferior. We feel eternal victims. We have self-hatred. That's the third mindset. We have this mentality I call herd mentality. We are just like sheep. We just want to follow groups. We don't want to individuate and say, you know what, me, John, me, Mary, I think like this. We are group people. And all these self-defeating mindsets, I just think that we have to put focus on them. Besides you just getting knowledge, besides you just getting power and money, can you realize that us feeling inferior, us always feeling victims, is a worse problem than poverty, is a worse problem than not being educated? And once you realize that, then I'm proposing real techniques and tools where over years you can work on your mindset. Because for me, when I was growing up in Iganga, I felt inferior to white people. I was clueless, you know. But over 20 years, I've been realizing, and I've lived in the US, as I told you, 13 years. Now I'm in the UK for 6 years. I've changed. And the way I've changed my mindset and the strategies I've put here is you have to realize that it will take 5 or more years. But as long as you know that's the problem and you have the ways on how to tackle those problems, then by the time you're an adult, like me, by the time you are married or with children, you have the right founding as far as the mindset, such that you don't propagate those self-defeating mindsets to your child. That's how I think over a long time as a society, we can solve this problem. It will take time, but every person has to do the work, which is knowing the problem and getting the right strategies. And I hope next week when we launch the Fourth Heritage Initiative, it's going to be at the National Theatre on 12th September. We want to communicate ways, strategies we are doing to enable the general public to at least give us a chance to hear the how of how we can change our mindsets.
Okay, and I do hope that will definitely be welcomed by these Ugandan people, because now that is the mindset we're looking at here. And such discussions will be very vital for you as a Ugandan youth, for you as a Ugandan business person, wherever you are. And for all of you who have been watching, stick around with me. Thank you very much, by the way. Happy New Month. It is the 1st of September, and for wherever you are, thank you. We're on YouTube, Smart24 TV live streaming, and then DSTV channel 372, GoTV channel 394. My guest today was Emmanuel Chirunda, who is an author, an energy executive, and of course, I do hope we shall have him next time to discuss about something else quite different from this one. But since it was about mindset change, we really needed to have a talk about this. Okay, that brings us to the end of our topic of discussion. All right, now as we head into the SMB Insight. Now, Insight today is looking at the rebuilding resilience of global economy. As yesterday, the 6th Economic Growth Forum was taking place at the Kampala Serena Hotel, and the key players from Uganda's economy had this to say on how Uganda can rebuild resilience to participate in the global economy and head into recovery, as well as discussing on the issues to do with mitigating climate change. In the long run, this would prevent food inflation and fuel. Let's take a look at this from our SMB Insight.
Very, very hard now to ensure that our domestic revenue mobilization strategy is implemented and implemented effectively. We have set up a team of very smart younger Ugandans to help us and collect more revenue without hurting the economy. So they have to make good analysis on where we are collecting this revenue. We are also looking at these tax expenditures which the development partners and Mr. Newfarmer, Dr. Newfarmer have been talking about. We are looking at them. We are trying to analyze and see when we offer a business, an investor, a tax exemption, and that investor is promising to do certain activities, to employ a certain number of Ugandans, to create a certain multiplier in a certain sector. Are they doing that? We are putting in place that framework to ensure that we strengthen what we have been doing.
Difficult because now the global economy is slowing, and with slower economic growth in the world, Uganda is going to have to increase its global market share and therefore increase its productivity faster than its competitors. This is possible because I know Uganda well, and I expect that Ugandan producers are going to move forward on this. Second thing is, in order to finance public investment, Uganda is going to have to mobilize more tax revenue. Tax revenues
growth was affected by supply side costs.
Although the number of confirmed cases in Uganda remains very low compared to other countries, the containment adopted to curb the spread of the virus affected business operations. Uganda's economic performance is influenced by the developments in the global economic environment, and therefore, a slowdown in the economic environment will affect the economy. Ramadan Gobi highlighted Uganda's real GDP growth, which is projected to rise from a 4.9% growth rate in 2022 to 7.6% in the year 2025, where Uganda is foreseen to be a middle-income status country, as shown. In 2021, 5.1%, in 2022, 4.9%, in 2023, 6.5%, in 2024, 6.1%, in 2025, 7%. Following the economic crisis, Uganda's government expenditure in the financial year 2029 to 2020 was low from 0.0% to 1.0%. Due to the financial crisis, there was an increase in the public debt and the cost of debt services. As a result, our debt to GDP ratio moved from 41% to 47%, and the debt service cost to domestic revenue increased to 27.7% in the financial year 2020 to 2021, constraining the fiscal space.
All right, And with that particular one, now we head into a commercial break. We do return with more from Smart Means Business as we will get on ground with Barija Andrew. Good morning.